Welcome back to another episode of Rewiring Health. I'm your host, Kelly Kessler. And today I want to talk about something that is so sneaky, so subtle, but can give you a lot of information about yourself and help you really move forward in your life. And what I'm talking about is seeking out validation. Now, it may seem very innocent when I talk about that what's wrong with just feeling validated in life? But if you feel an incessant need to seek out validation from others, it can really tell you something deeply about yourself. And I want to share that with you today because this was something that was so eye-opening in my life, realizing that I was seeking out a validation in so many ways. And until I did some self-reflection, I had no idea what the messages behind that truly were. And so I want to share a story with you. A few years ago, my husband and I were building our house, and we were both working full time, driving an hour each way to work. We were gone like 10 hours a day. And then we would come home. We would be the general contractors of our house. So we were coordinating everything. On top of that, I was pregnant with my first son. And to say that life was overwhelming would be an understatement. It was absolutely chaotic at that time. And on my hour ride to work, I would always call my one friend, and she would drive a lot too. So we would just share that hour and chat. And looking back, it just became this like natural thing of like, I would just start complaining about everything that was going on, being like, oh, isn't that awful? Like the contractor just like bailed on us, and that's costing more. And she would complain about her life, and it became this big like complaining session between us. And at the time, it seemed innocent, almost felt like a relief, that someone else is going through things too. And we could really bond in that. But as I realize now, and I didn't see in that time, throughout that conversation, I was almost like seeking out validation. Like, isn't this so challenging? Isn't what I'm going through a lot? And that they were all subconscious things I was experiencing. Not that I was asking her that, but it was almost like I was seeking this out, seeking out someone to say like, gosh, that's really hard. I feel for you. I can't imagine what you're going through. That's really challenging. Almost like seeking out that validation and compassion for all the things I was going through. And again, like I said, looking back, I can see it much more clearly now, but at the time, I thought nothing of it. This is just what we did. We chatted every hour on the way to work, and that was our conversation. But now I realize that if we are seeking out validation outside ourselves continually, it does indicate a deeper meaning within us. And for me, what I realized is that I wasn't validating myself. I wasn't giving myself my own validation. So because I was lacking that within myself, I had to seek it out outside of myself. I had to seek it out from praise from other people. I had to seek it out from other people feeling compassion for me because of all the challenges I was going through. I was literally just seeking it out outside of myself. And what became a huge game changer between that version of myself many years ago and who I am today is that I had to learn how to give myself validation. I had to learn how to validate my experience. And so this is an ongoing process. It's something I continue to go through. But if this resonates with you and maybe you feel like this, you have that conversation with your friend who you're maybe subconsciously seeking out validation for your experience or your spouse or whoever it is, ask yourself this question. Are you validating your own experience? And what that can look like is that maybe you're having a really challenging time in your life right now. Maybe things are just blowing up and it's just been a really challenging year. And are you sending yourself some compassion in that? Are you actually validating your experience? Like, yeah, this is challenging. It truly is. And I feel for you. And I know you're going to get through this. And I know that there are days that it feels like it is just a grind, and I know that you're doing your best. And I want to applaud you for doing that. Are those the things that you're saying to yourself? Are you validating your experience? Now, this again may seem like such a simple thing, but unless you're doing this on a daily basis, you can run into this trap of feeling like you're almost doubting your experience. Like, oh, well, I know other people have it worse than me. Like maybe it's not that bad, or like I don't know. It's just it's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'll get through it. It's nothing. But all those little innocent things that you may be saying to yourself is just invalidating you. And it is so important to validate your own experience, validate your own emotions. If you're feeling really low right now, if you're feeling really tired, that is something to validate. Like, listen, maybe you've had this really exhausting day. It's okay to feel tired in this moment. Tomorrow, let's pick ourselves up and we'll get back at it. That's okay. But that validation step of saying, I understand you're feeling like this to yourself is so freeing. It is so liberating to your inner self, your inner core, and realizing that you have your own back. You know, if you were having a child who injured themselves and they were crying and they were hurt, you wouldn't say, "Oh, you're fine. It's nothing. Move on." That could be really challenging to the child of saying like, "No, I'm actually hurting." You know, it's the same thing with us. If you're experiencing something in your life that's really challenging, almost like behaving like the parent of your own inner child is absolutely key in this. And saying like, I recognize that this is a really challenging time for you. I know that you're feeling really exhausted and drained in this moment, and it's okay to feel like that. And take as much time as you need, and then you're going to pick yourself up again and you're going to get back at it. Just saying that to yourself, even if it's within your head, makes such a big difference for validating yourself. And the more you do this, the more you strengthen that muscle of validating yourself, you'll notice the less you need validation outside yourself. The more you are able to really boost yourself up, feel the compassion for yourself, pick yourself off the ground, and literally give yourself an inner hug for everything you're going through. And that skill of validating yourself, being there for yourself, is so tremendous in anchoring yourself down into your reality, anchor yourself down into the present moment, and really giving yourself the love that maybe you've been seeking out outside yourself this whole time. When we abandon ourselves, if we are used to this pattern of abandoning ourselves, betraying ourselves, trying to just get it all done, take care of everyone and everything, it can be really challenging to give ourselves that validation. So I want this to be a message to you. If you find that you don't typically validate yourself in your experience, take the moment right now, start to do that. Start to validate yourself. Start to really notice that maybe you are feeling a certain way, and it's okay to feel those feelings. Because when you validate yourself, you will notice that those emotions that seem like they're coming up to the surface, feeling very strong, they actually end up moving through you instead of just kind of staying stuck and resisted. When you don't validate yourself, you just fight against the emotional experience that you're feeling. When you do validate yourself, you allow them to move through you and you end up feeling much better about whatever you're experiencing. What we experience is just that, but the meaning we give it is truly where it all comes from. And if we can validate our experience, then we can transform the meaning in which it can become, and then we can move through these much quicker. So again, I hope this message helps you in recognizing that you have the power to validate yourself. You do not need to seek it outside yourself. And the more you do it, the less you will seek that validation outside of yourself. And the more you can anchor into who you are and what you need. Thanks for joining me today. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Rewiring Health. I hope you found our conversation both enlightening and empowering. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Rewiring Health so that you never miss an update. Also, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you could take a moment to rate and review the show, it would mean the world to me and help others discover the power that we all have within us to create change and create the life that we truly, truly desire. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with me and sharing the energy of the show.